All right, welcome back to the Carl Jackson Show. I am joined by my guest, Zack Smith. He's a constitutional attorney for the Heritage Foundation. Check out his work at Daily Signal, heritage.org, some of his research. Really good guy and a really well-informed guy when it comes to issues of the law, obviously, or he would not be at Heritage. But I wanted to bring Zack on because President Joe Biden just pardoned Hunter Biden. Obviously, that is the big news story of the day. Even I mean, just not totally taking out Kash Patel as the FBI, nominee. Everybody was going nuts over on the left. But I mean, this story has literally taken over. But here's the deal. I believe that, in my opinion, this pardon, and I'm going to get Zack's take on it. Zack is an attorney. I'm ghetto fabulous. So we come from different arenas. But my take is this I think people are missing the big picture. And I think this is Joe Biden pardons himself. Hunter Biden happens to be included. Other people, in my opinion, that are guilty of allowing this behavior between Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, this corruption, this criminality to exist. The mainstream media. I like to know what Obama knew. I like to know what James Comey knew. I like to know what John Brennan knew. I think these are names that need to be included. And I don't think this story should necessarily go away. I know that Trump shouldn't focus on this stuff. But Zack, what is your take on this? I mean, everybody knew that this pardon was going to happen. I never believed it from day one. I always knew that he was going to be pardoned. But this blanket pardon to me suggests Joe Biden may as well say, hey, I'm guilty.
Well, thanks for having me on the show tonight, Carl. And look, do you mean to tell me that Joe Biden told a lie while he was in office? He didn't follow through on his word. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that he went back on his promise not to pardon Hunter. But you're absolutely right. There's a lot to unpack with this pardon, particularly if you look at the breadth of the pardon and the scope of the crimes that it covers. Basically, it absolves Hunter of responsibility for any federal crime he may have committed over the past 10 years. That's an exceedingly broad pardon. And I think it's raised a lot of eyebrows, as you pointed out, about why the scope of the pardon is just so long over that 10-year time period. Now, what's interesting is if the purpose of this pardon truly is to stop questions from being asked or to stop, the digging into the Biden family business arrangements, that sort of thing, this pardon may very well backfire, because one of the things a lot of people don't realize is that once someone has received a pardon for certain crimes, criminal jeopardy no longer attaches. And when criminal jeopardy no longer attaches, that means that person can no longer invoke their Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. And so Hunter can no longer invoke a Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination for any federal crime he might have committed over the past 10 years. And so we may see Hunter presented with a very stark choice in the coming months and years about whether or not to answer questions in front of congressional committees, potentially whether to answer questions in front of a grand jury, or if he refuses to do so, he could very well face either contempt of Congress or contempt of court charges if he were to choose not to answer those questions.
Really, that is interesting. So it's not like he could be prosecuted for the crimes that he was pardoned of, obviously. But if he refuses to answer, that's interesting. He can face contempt of contempt of court charges. I did not know that. That is very interesting. But I got to ask, why would he be motivated though to answer any type of question? Since I think his dad, I'll be honest with you, I think his dad has just signed his death sentence. I don't like the guy. I don't like the Bidens, but this is a guy that is a 50-year-old or however old he is, entitled child, and it's because of Joe Biden. So I guess that's more of not necessarily a legal legal opinion, but certainly I think this is just bad all around, legally and on a personal level.
Yeah, look, Hunter may not have a choice about whether or not to answer questions. I suspect he's going to face congressional subpoenas, a requirement that he come and testify before Congress, before some of these oversight committees, some of these investigatory committees. And so he may be compelled to testify to answer questions that I think many of us have been wanting to know the answers to for some time now. And now you talked about the moral aspect of this pardon, Carl, and I think that's an important thing to focus on because I think what galls so many people is not so much the fact of the pardon, and the pardon in and of itself is bad. It's really indefensible in a lot of ways, but it's the fact that Joe Biden lied for so long and so repeatedly to the American people. I think most people, even if they disagreed with the pardon, could understand if Joe Biden said, hey, I'm Hunter's father, I don't want him to go to prison, I'm going to issue him a pardon. I think Joe Biden, if he did that, would still likely be violating really his oath as president to do what's best for the country, but it's more understandable. But that's not what Joe Biden said. He essentially said that his own Justice Department, the Biden Justice Department, had improperly targeted Hunter and essentially harassed Hunter by bringing these charges, and because of this, he was going to issue this pardon. Now, stop and think about that for just a minute, Carl. This is the same Justice Department that tried to cut Hunter a sweetheart plea deal that was so generous, that was so unique in its terms, that a federal judge in Delaware essentially stopped it from going into effect. And that's the only reason Hunter pled guilty or faces criminal sanctions for any of these charges in the first place, is because that Delaware federal judge rejected the plea deal that Joe Biden's Justice Department initially tried to give him. And so I think people recognize that, unfortunately, Joe Biden has been very disingenuous about this entire episode from kind of start to finish. And it really is a very troubling thing for us as a country.
You know, I'm of the opinion that maybe some staffers, along with Jill Biden, helped to write this pardon. I don't think that Biden could do it, even though if there's times where he's lucid, and I suspect there is, then he might for a split second kind of understand what's going on. But there's no way, in my opinion, anyway, that he wrote this pardon. Not that it would matter, but anyway, I want to get your take on that. But let me also ask this question. So there's a blanket pardon of Hunter Biden. What's to prevent Congress? I mean, I know Joe Biden will never go to jail at his age. I don't think he should, but at least exposing the dirt on Joe Biden. Can those details be resurrected or exposed so that I really want this guy to, I'll be honest with you, Zach, I want him to die with a horrible legacy because I think he deserves it.
Well, look, I think everyone recognizes the problematic policies that the Biden administration has pushed over the past several years. And we can talk about the blatant ignoring of the Constitution that he's done repeatedly. Think about the student loan forgiveness, where he essentially came out and said, I know the Constitution doesn't authorize me to take these actions, but I'm going to do it anyway. And that's just a very mild instance, the botched Afghanistan withdrawal. All of those things, I think, are going to tarnish Joe Biden's legacy as a politician. Now, obviously, we wish him good health, although he doesn't seem to be in particularly good health. But from a policy standpoint, the Biden-Harris administration over the past 4 years has been absolutely devastating across a host of factors. But I think, unfortunately, one of the lasting legacies of the Biden administration is really going to be its lack of respect for the rule of law. For all the talk that the left likes to engage in, talking about Donald Trump being a threat to the rule of law, being a threat to our country, if you look at the actions of the Biden administration, actually it's his administration that have taken repeated actions that have undermined the rule of law and our constitutional system of government.
I do believe we only have a couple of minutes left. That obviously there's this narrative out there with Kash Patel being nominated as the FBI director. All of this stuff that Joe Biden, it was all projection. Everything the left says about Trump, it's what they've done. I believe it's important for Donald Trump to fight back against that narrative. But how does he do it without kind of annoying the electorate, if you will? It wouldn't annoy me, but people want the economy good. They want, borders, crime. But this is, if we don't have the rule of law, we don't have anything. How do they seek justice for the corruption that probably exist even around this case. There's got to be other people that were involved that knew about this stuff.
Well, look, if the mandate of the American people to Donald Trump is to go to Washington to shake things up, to provide answers to really what's happened over the past 4 years to our country, I think Donald Trump has shown that he's committed to doing that. I mean, look at what Tom Homan has said as the borders are, that essentially he's going to go into cities, including deep blue cities, and carry out his constitutional duties, and help Donald Trump carry out his constitutional duties as president to make sure that the laws are faithfully executed. And you're seeing that time and time again. And so I think when Donald Trump is inaugurated at the end of January, it's not going to be business as usual in Washington. And I think for many Americans, that is a very good thing and a very welcome change to how things have been, not only over the past several years, but over the past several decades as well.
Yeah. All right. Just 15 seconds left here, Zach. Does this give Trump the permission to nullify the convictions of the J6 protesters and maybe even pardon himself?
Well, look,
even though he didn't do anything wrong?
Well, he can certainly pardon those individuals, and he can certainly pardon himself. And I think politically speaking, if the Democrats try to challenge him on those pardons, they'd be facing a very difficult situation in light of Joe Biden's pardon of Hunter.
All right. We'll leave it there. Zack Smith of the Heritage Foundation. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Hey, Christmas is coming up, and MyPillow is excited to announce that their Christmas extravaganza is finally here. Get this season's flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. They won't last long, so get them while they last. Their famous My Slippers, these haven't been on sale for over a year, and they're regularly priced at $119.98, but for a limited time only, they're now $59.98. And their 6-piece towel sets are back in stock with extremely limited quantities, only $29.98. With hundreds of MyPillow products, there's something for everyone on your Christmas list. From bathrobes, duvets, quilts, down comforters, and so much more. Go to MyPillow.com or call 800-858-0263 and be sure to use promo code Carl to save on all MyPillow products. That's promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. Flannel sheets for as low as $59.98. The 6-piece towel set as low as $29.98. But that's not all. They're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee until March 1st of 2025. Plus all orders over $75 or more ship for absolutely free. Go to MyPillow.com, promo code Carl.